Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are going to start a new chapter today, chapter number 5, Bhagavad Gita as it is. The title of the chapter is Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness, text number 1. Arjuna Uvacha Sannyasam Karmanam Krishna Punar Yogam cha Shamsasi Yatshreya Etayorekam Tanme Bruhi Sunishchitam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna said, O Krishna, first of all, you ask me to renounce work. And then again, you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial? Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Once again, a very welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining. We are starting the new chapter wherein we are going to learn how to perform our activities so that there are no reactions. So here we see Arjuna is confused. So far from chapter 1 through 4, all the 4 chapters, we see how Arjuna is inquiring from Krishna. He's asking questions and Krishna is responding with his answers. The very first thing that Krishna explains to Arjuna in chapter 2 is that you're not this body and you're a spirit soul. So that is the foundation of the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. We need to understand who we really are. Now, as Arjuna has been asking questions in the last chapter, chapter 4, we learned about the history of the Bhagavad Gita, how old is Bhagavad Gita, and we also learned how we should receive this spiritual science of the Bhagavad Gita. We need to receive it in strict disciplic succession, coming all the way from the Supreme Lord. So now the 5th chapter, which is again about Karma Yoga like chapter 3, but here Krishna will give more knowledge on Karma Yoga. Arjuna starts off with some confusion and inquiry. He wants to know. He's saying, first you tell me don't work, renounce work. Then you tell me you please work in devotion. Now I'm very confused. Can you please explain to me definitely? He uses the word definitely. Please guide me and remove this confusion. Tell me what is beneficial for me. This is very important. The word beneficial. We all like to benefit from everything that we do. We want, benefits in any way possible. So here Arjuna also, he wants to know, you please tell me what is beneficial for me. Most people actually do not know what is beneficial for them. Why? Because there's no guidance. And as far as spiritual science is concerned, we definitely need guidance. We should not listen to our mind. Mind can trick us, like we've heard before, right? The mind can really trick us. The mind can say, oh, this is really beneficial for you, but it probably may not be. So here, Krishna's actually, this whole Bhagavad Gita was Krishna's plan. As he said in chapter 4, Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam. He says how this knowledge has come down. And then he says, Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Rajasya Vidu Sakalena Hamata Yogo Nashtaha Parantapa. He says this spiritual science, which is millions of years old, gradually started getting destroyed. So it was Krishna's plan to re-speak the Bhagavad Gita 5,000 years ago. So it was Krishna's plan to put Arjuna in confusion so that Arjuna will ask those questions on our behalf. And Krishna will answer those questions to benefit us. And that is all this Bhagavad Gita is all about. So in this 5th chapter, Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that one must work in devotion. He says work in devotion is better than just dry mental speculation. You know, we are quite expert in speculation. Oh, in my opinion, I think so, according to me, and we have all these theories, etc. And as far as spiritual science is concerned, we have a lot of speculation. So Krishna is explaining that better than speculation is to perform our activities in devotion, with devotion. Because when we perform our activities in devotional service, then it is much easier. And also, devotion actually brings us to the transcendental platform. It helps us to lead a karma free life. We all have heard about, excuse me, about action and reaction. Every action has a reaction. Whether it is good action or bad action, there's going to be a reaction. And the problem with reaction is that we get into the cycle of birth and death because of reactions. So here Krishna is teaching us in chapter 5 how to perform our activities in such a way, in devotion to him, so that there are no reactions, which means it's a karma-free life. No more reactions, which means no more birth in this material world. And to understand that, we need to understand that we are not this body. This body that we have is just a covering for the soul. The soul is embodied, right now. It is conditioned, it's embodied, it's inside the body. And how excuse me, how this soul can be relieved of this entanglement, to come out of this conditioning. And that is possible only when one performs a karma. What is a karma? Excuse me. A karma, according to chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita, means we perform our activities according to the scriptures, according to the laws of the Supreme Lord. And at the same time, we do not desire to enjoy the fruits of our activities. That is the important point. We all are working hard so that we have the fruits in mind, that, okay, I'm going to do 2 jobs and this is what I'll earn, and this is how I'm going to enjoy my life. So that fruits of those activities, we need to stop desiring. Now that is going to be difficult until and unless we have a higher taste. An example, if a child is eating mud, which is a lower taste, of course, is not going to give up that eating of mud at all until and unless the child is given a higher taste, maybe a lollipop or a candy or something which has a higher taste. Then automatically the child will be detached from the mud and will get attached to the lollipop or the candy. So also it applies to us. When we get a higher taste, when we understand that when we are performing our activities in the mode of passion or in the mode of ignorance, then we are striving to enjoy the fruits. Now, as I said, every action has a reaction. So whatever activities we've performed in the past, right now, at the present moment, we are facing the reactions of our past actions. Now, past is gone. We cannot change it, which means right now, our present, we cannot change, but we can definitely change our future. Why? Because we have the opportunity now to perform our activities in such a way that we follow the laws of the Lord. At the same time, we just do our prescribed duty, but do not crave to enjoy the fruits of our activities, because the fruits will come to us no matter what. If we have earned it, if we have performed activities in such a way, say, let me give you an example. If in my past I've done something really good, and now in this life I am supposed to get $1 million, I'll get those $1 million. Of course, that doesn't mean that I don't do any work. I do my prescribed duty, but not desire the fruits of the activities. So Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that you do your prescribed duty, you work, but you work in devotion for me. You give the results of your activities as a sacrifice. In chapter 3, we learned Yagnarthat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. Krishna says that work done as a sacrifice for the Lord has to be performed. Otherwise, the work causes bondage. So if we want to disentangle ourselves, if we want liberation from the miseries of life, then Krishna is suggesting that we perform devotional service. In other words, we serve, we do our prescribed duty in devotion for him. And Bhagavad Gita shows us how to do that. And the very first step is mantra meditation. We always talk about mantra meditation in our class, where the man means the mind and tra means to free the mind of anxiety. So the mantra that we chant, it frees the mind of all the anxieties, and then the mind becomes very restful, very peaceful and happy. So those sound vibrations of the chanting that help us to clear our mind. Then it becomes easier for us to understand the Bhagavad Gita. Now, Srila Prabhupada, he explains in the purport that if our actions are performed in knowledge, very important, if we have knowledge and we perform actions according to that knowledge, then there are no more reactions and then there is no more bondage. So that is what we learned from this verse today we read. And Krishna wants Arjuna to get up and fight. They are in a battlefield. It's called the Mahabharata, the greatest war, and Arjuna is a warrior. It's his prescribed duty to stand up and fight, but he is morose, he's confused, he's lamenting, and he is not able to understand that how can I fight? My relatives are opposite me, I cannot kill them. So he has all that confusion, and Krishna is gradually removing his confusion by giving him spiritual knowledge. He says working in devotion is like renunciation. Renunciation, generally people think renunciation means you leave your family, you leave your job, you leave your relatives, you leave your home, and you renounce everything, and probably you go to the mountains and you meditate. No, that's not real renunciation. That could be dry renunciation if there is no knowledge. But real renunciation is renunciation of our fruits of our activities. Then there are no more reactions, which means we should not be attached to our work. We have to perform our prescribed duty in a detached mode, which means we are working for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. We are working in devotion. So Arjuna is thinking, how is it possible that we are working in devotion and at the same time we are renounced? He is wondering, how is that possible that both can take place at the same time? He's thinking either one will work or one will renounce. This is his idea. This is his understanding. But Krishna is explaining, no. When someone works in his consciousness, then that is actually renunciation. That is actually considered inaction, which means actions are still being performed, but because they are performed in a different consciousness, in a spiritual consciousness, there are no reactions. So it's considered as good as inaction. And in verse 2 of this chapter, it starts with the Sanskrit shloka starts with Sri Bhagavana Uvacha, which means the Supreme Personality of Godhead said. So Bhagavan, Bhaga means opulence, Van means possessor of opulences. So the Vedic scriptures confirm that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here we see in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 5, verse 2, it says, Sri Bhagavana Uvacha, the Supreme Lord said. Many people think that Krishna is probably a great personality or a great historical figure. No, he is the Supreme Lord. So here the Supreme Lord is telling Arjuna that both are good. Renunciation of work and working in devotion, both are good, but better is to work in devotion. Because if a person renounces everything without proper knowledge, then the mind is not going to be peaceful, because one is not able to understand how to control the senses. Renunciation means control of senses, and how to control the mind, how to use the intelligence the best way. So it's better that one has the knowledge and then one performs work in devotion. So Krishna wants Arjuna to fight, to work in the renounced spirit, and not think of the fruits. Am I going to win the war? Am I going to lose the war? He's telling him not to worry about that. Just perform your prescribed duty in devotion. Why? Because that will free one from reactions. See, the problem comes when we perform action, there is a reaction, and we get all confused, and then we perform some more actions, and then there are some more reactions, and it starts getting complicated. So here is a simple process given to us in chapter 5 of this Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is giving a very simple formula: work in devotion, and that is called karma yoga. Yoga means connecting with the Supreme Lord through karma, through our work. And it is also known as bhakti yoga. Bhakti means devotion. So we are performing our activities in devotion. So it's karma yoga and as well as bhakti yoga, and that helps us to liberate ourselves. So the stress here Krishna is giving on is devotional service and knowledge. You see what happens when we perform fruitive activities, which means we are performing activities to enjoy the fruits of our work, then that causes bondage. And then there is more entanglement. And then there is this whole cycle of action, reaction, and then one body after another, reincarnation again and again and again. Now, what we have already performed in the past, we cannot change, but at least we can change our future. We have tried hard. I'm not sure about all of you, but I have tried. Before I understood the Bhagavad Gita, I tried hard to satisfy my senses and, try this and that and everything, but there was not much satisfaction. And even if there was, it was short-lived. It was temporary. So everybody here wants satisfaction. They want happiness. They want peace of mind. So Krishna is saying, you've tried everything else. Why not try what I'm suggesting right now? Do your duties, your prescribed duties in devotion, and then see the difference. And Krishna is giving a guarantee that if we perform karma yoga or bhakti yoga or perform our work in devotion to him, there will be permanent happiness. So just like in school, I remember when I was in school decades ago, there used to be in our science classroom, we used to have theory part where the professor would explain, whatever knowledge he had to give. And then we were taken to the laboratory for practicals. So whatever we heard, now we were going to put it in practice. So then we would say, aha, this is what we learned because we could see it, because we saw the practicals. So also Bhagavad Gita knowledge, yes, it's good to get the theory part, but then practical also is necessary. We need to put it into practice. For instance, here we learned in these two verses today that we should work in devotion. So let us practice that. Let us practice. Let us change our consciousness. If we've already changed it, then polish it a little bit more and make it more, more pure. How can we do that? By taking baby steps, by first trying to see, okay, I am going to perform this activity. Let me change my consciousness. Let me think about, okay, I'm performing this activity. Let me perform this for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, and I'm not going to worry about the results, what the results are going to be. I'm going to sacrifice the fruits of my activities in Krishna consciousness, and then we will see the difference. The mind stops getting agitated. We are not so worried about fruits, and so all that confusion starts going away gradually. So we need to perform some activities. So one may say, what does this mean? It means that we have to become more conscious of existence of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. We have to become more conscious of how we are performing our activities. I'm not sure if you have experienced this, but I have seen that, if someone has a strong desire or has a strong expectation from someone, and when that expectation is not met, then there is rise of anger. And in anger, then the person, I believe scientifically it's proved that anger causes a lot of chemical reactions in the body, and the intelligence actually stops working. And that is why we notice that when a person is angry, that person starts saying things that they don't mean. They start doing things that they don't mean to do. And after the anger has subsided, then the person realizes, oh no, I shouldn't have done what I did. The realization comes afterwards. The damage is already done, right? So here, actually talking about anger, I heard a very nice story. It is Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha, I'm sure you probably have heard about Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha was sitting with his disciples, and one of his disciples said, Lord, I get very angry and I don't know how to control this anger. So Lord Buddha said, well, there was a lady and she used to get very angry at very small things. She would get very angry, and then once her anger subsided, then she regretted being angry because she realized that she said things that she was not supposed to, or did things that she was not supposed to. So one day, a saintly person came to her house and was, wanting some water to drink, was thirsty. So this lady, whenever we meet some saintly person or a spiritual person, then we like to inquire from them. We have some doubts or whatever. So she inquired from him and said, this is my problem. I get angry and I don't want to get angry. So he said, well, I have some medicine for you. He took out a small bottle of medicine, and he gave it to her. And he said, every time you think that you're about to get angry, put 4 drops on your tongue and keep your mouth closed for 10 minutes, because it takes 10 minutes for the medicine to start working. And then you will notice that you will not get angry. So after the person went, she tried it. Every time she would start getting angry, she would put 4 drops and keep those 4 drops on her tongue and wait for 10 minutes. And then she realized that she was not getting angry, and she was so happy. So after a few days, this saintly person stopped by her house again. And she said, oh, I'm so happy to see you. I wanted to tell you, I don't get angry anymore. Your medicine was so good. It's miraculous. So the saintly person said, well, that bottle, it just had water in it. There was no medicine. It was just drops of water. So what you did, you put 4 drops of water on your tongue, and you kept your mouth closed thinking medicine is working, but because your mouth was closed, it was shut, you didn't say anything. And in within those 10 minutes, your anger subsided. So you thought that there is no anger, that your anger is cured. So what is the solution? That whenever you get angry, shut your mouth. Don't say anything. Keep quiet, and then the anger will go away. So we have been trying since a very long time to control the senses, to somehow or the other make sure that we don't get agitated by all those demands of the senses. I want to hear this, I want to taste this, I want to see this. All the senses trying to trying to overpower our mind and intelligence. So Krishna says that when we start working in devotion, when we start putting this theory into practice, the first step being mantra meditation, where we chant every day, at least for 10 minutes, that purifies the heart, that purifies the senses, and that even purifies our mind and intelligence. And then gradually, because of that purification, we are even able to understand the Bhagavad Gita. One may say that, oh, it's very easy. I just open the Bhagavad Gita, I start reading, and it's going to be very easy to understand. It's not easy. In chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Rajavidya Rajaguhyam. It is Rajavidya. It is a king of education. At the same time, it's Guhyam. It's a secret. It can be understood only from a bona fide teacher. So if we really want to become free from reactions, we want to become free from bondage, then just renouncing the world is not going to work, or just renouncing work is not going to work. The mind will still continue to be restless because the mind needs engagement. Let me put it correctly. The mind needs proper engagement. So you need to understand the meaning of renunciation. Here Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that yes, renunciation is good, but it is for those who have reached that understanding, who have reached that platform where they are self-realized, and then they are able to control their mind and senses, and then they can renounce. But for people like us, in our day-to-day life, we are not ready for renunciation. So the best option for us is to still work, do our duties, our prescribed duties, but do it in devotion for the Supreme Lord Krishna, and then we will not get entangled. It's all a matter of consciousness. The work remains the same. Say, for instance, I'm a teacher. I go to school, maybe I teach the fourth graders, and my job is to teach maybe science or history or whatever. I still continue to do the same job, but now I can do it in different consciousness. Now I can understand from this chapter 5 of Bhagavad Gita how to perform a karma, not just karma, a karma. A karma means I follow the laws just like we follow the laws of the state. We follow the traffic rules. Those are given to us by the state. We follow them. And if we do, then we are safe. So similarly, when we follow the laws of the Supreme Lord, then we don't have anything to worry. So if I'm a teacher, I still do my job as a teacher, but I'm doing it in different consciousness. Now I understand that yes, it's my job to teach, so I'm going to teach, but I'm not going to crave, I'm not going to desire to enjoy the fruits of my activities, because that will lead to entanglement. So even though such a person in such a consciousness is working, it is actually considered inaction. Why inaction? Because there is no reaction. There is no entanglement. There is no good karma or bad karma, neither good action nor bad action, but it is action in devotion. So there is no reaction at all. So unfortunately, many people think renunciation means no activity. No, here Krishna is directly, he is rejecting anyone seeking perfection through just dry speculation. Oh, I feel, I am tired of this world, so I want to renounce everything. I'm tired of family and job and everything, and I just want to go to the forest and meditate. No, that is dry speculation. There is no knowledge in that. So Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that detached work, which means detached from the fruits, detached work is safer, it's easier, and it is practical. So working with knowledge will lead us to purification of the heart. Right now, the heart is not so pure because there are some impurities from a very long time. It could be lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, illusion. It could be any, or a little, or in a greater degree. But these unwanted things are still there in the heart, and that purification is necessary. It's important to come to the level of realizing the self-realization. Who am I? I am this spirit soul. I am not this body. This body is just a covering. Also understanding what is my relationship with Krishna. It is that of I am the child of the Supreme Lord, and my relationship is as a servant to the Supreme Master. So the activities performed in this consciousness leads to purification, and renunciation is considered to be complete when it is together with knowledge. In fact, talking about renunciation, a good question would be, what are we trying to renounce? Because we came in this world empty-handed. When we were born, we didn't bring anything with us. So nothing actually belongs to us. Everything belongs to Krishna. So what are we trying to renounce? It's like, the cashier at the bank, is counting money, is all the customers who are coming to withdraw cash, is the cashier is just counting and, doing the job. So the cashier one day, has people, so many customers have come and almost $1 million were withdrawn, and the cashier says, oh, I renounce all these $1 million. There's nothing to renounce, because all that money doesn't belong to the cashier. It belongs to the different customers who have those different bank accounts. That is where the money belongs. So there is no question of renunciation. Now, when we go to verse 3 of this chapter, there Krishna is talking about the qualities of a person who is liberated, who is actually renounced, is still working, is still in family life, is still, taking care of responsibilities, but the consciousness is that of a renunciate. So he says, such a person who is liberated, he neither hates nor desires for fruits of activities, does not have any dualities, which means doesn't get affected by heat or cold, happiness, distress, success, failure, fame, infamy. Nothing bothers him. He's always on that, platform where, is completely peaceful. Such a person, Krishna says, is completely liberated. Why? Because that person has full knowledge, has understood the relationship, his relationship with the Supreme Lord, and has also understand his constitutional position. Krishna says such a person is actually renounced, even though that person may be a CEO of a company and working very hard. But the consciousness is working in devotion. So that makes a huge difference. So working, but no desire for fruits, only dedicated to loving devotional service to Krishna. So this is what helps a person to go on the path of liberation. Then in verse number 4, Krishna talks about karma yoga, which is same as devotional service to him, which means materially detached, spiritually attached. So for us to become detached, we have to be attached to something. Only then we can get detached. So materially detached and spiritually attached. So that is how we will be able to actually even realize the Lord within the heart as a super soul. This is what Krishna is explaining to Arjuna, that devotional service to him will lead one to understand even the super soul within the heart. So karma yoga or bhakti yoga is the direct path of devotional service to Krishna. So until and unless we cleanse our hearts, purify our hearts, actual renunciation will not take place. So just giving up family and running away, of course someone may want to do that, is fed up of the family and want to run away, but that is not going to help because the mind will still be restless. So senses, they want proper engagement so that it leads to purification. So today's last verse that we will take is number 6, where Krishna talks about renunciation, if it is done without devotion to him, will not bring any happiness. See? So a person who is intelligent, a person who is thoughtful will engage in devotional service and then will achieve the supreme destination. So working in devotion will help one to lead a karma-free life. So if we don't want any reactions, then we have to perform actions in such a way that do not lead us to any reactions. So to lead a karma-free life, to lead a happy and peaceful life, then we need to work in devotion. And that working in devotion starts with mantra meditation. In fact, in the chat, I'm going to post some links so you can see where, of course, the Zoom link is there for Tuesday classes. There's a Facebook page, YouTube channel where there are recorded lectures. And then there's a WhatsApp group where I post some realizations on a daily basis. And at the bottom, you will see that there is the mantra, actually the Maha Mantra, the greatest chant for liberation. So I can chant for a few minutes. So here are these beads that we chant on daily basis, and these are 108 beads. So we chant the mantra on each bead, which takes about 10 minutes to complete 108 times of chanting this holy names. So we'll just chant. Maybe you can also try chanting, do this meditation with me and see if it makes you, a little more happier. And I can give you a guarantee, it does. It does. It brings peace of mind. It brings about a lot of happiness. There is clarity in mind. And with the help of the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, we are able to sharpen our intelligence also. So I'll just do this meditation for a few minutes just to give you an idea, how to chant. And then maybe you can try it at home and see if you would like to continue this. So let's start just a few times. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So these sound vibrations are very powerful. They are coming from the spiritual world. It is given in the Vedic scriptures, and Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all the Vedic scriptures, and it teaches us how to control the mind. So I would I would humbly request you to please try and chant on a daily basis if you can, and you will see the difference for sure. So I'm going to stop now, and if anyone has any questions or comments,